Welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited to have my friend Dawn on today. We got to know each other through a group of lady friends that do real estate investing all over the country. So Dawn, you want to share with everybody a little bit about who you are and what you're doing and where you're at with your business right now?
Sure. Thanks, Melissa. Thanks so much for having me here. It's always a good time to chat with you. So let's see about my business. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I own a small real estate sales and property management brokerage. So when I say small, it's just me. I've got a business partner, and we have an assistant and another buyer's agent. And between the four of us, we sell probably about 75 homes a year, and we manage about another 160, 170 properties up here in the Raleigh area. And so my business partner does most of the rental side of the business, and then I do all of the sales.
Nice. And how long have you been doing that?
I started my company, it's Trailwood Realty. I started that in 2010 during the last recession. Started it really to focus on property management since sales were not doing so great at that time, but then kind of over time the sales obviously picked up a lot too. So by 2012 the business was probably half sales and half management.
That's what I was going to ask, kind of what does that look like for you now? Are you doing more sales, more property management?
Yeah, well, I was doing everything until my business partner joined me about 3 years ago. So I was doing all sales and property management all by myself for a long time. And that was, probably still half and half, but had just grown to the point of where, it was just completely unmanageable. I think when she came on, I was probably selling about 40 homes a year, which is already a lot for a single agent to do. But then I was probably managing another 120. So, just trying to keep your head above water while you're doing that much work was pretty impossible. So she came on about 3 years ago and saved my life. So now she does all of the property management. I do the sales. And, so I guess, it's still probably about half and half, although our assistant generally helps her, with the property management stuff more so than me with the sales.
Yeah. Property management's a ton of work. I used to manage my rent and I didn't have, near as many. They were all just mine that I managed, and I really did not enjoy that very much. So that's good that you got somebody on that can help with all that.
Yeah, she's great. She's very type A and organized, which is the opposite of my skill set. So, which is probably a little bit about what I wanted to talk to you about today. For her to be able to kind of take that on and then do what I was doing, but do it 100 times better has been awesome for not just me, but our clients and tenants and everything too. So I'm super happy to have her.
Yeah, for sure. So, just making some notes. So, let's dig in, I guess. What is something that you feel like you're kind of struggling with right now in your business that maybe we can kind of talk through and figure some things out?
Sure. So last year, I think I sold about 60 homes myself. And I probably did that the year before as well. This year, with COVID, I'm not on track to do as many, mostly because I stayed home for 2 months, but now that everything's kind of opened back up for the most part, it's picked way back up, and inventory has gotten a lot tighter. So, I'm still working with the same number of buyers, but there's just half the amount of homes to sell. So it's just super competitive. I feel like I'm doing a lot of work for, no pay, because if you don't actually get it under contract, then you don't get paid. I'm working with a lot of people who they're writing great offers. So, it's not their fault that we're not getting them, but I feel like they're doing a good job listening to me. It's not their fault they're not getting it. We're just spinning our wheels a lot because it's just so competitive. The problem is I feel like I lose clients along the way because I really only have the bandwidth to work with people who are just ready to go right now, who are willing to make high offers with high due diligence fees and really give the sellers everything they've got to win the property. And for the people who are still kind of maybe in the learning the market phase, or they're not quite ready to be as competitive, they're still trying to figure out what exactly they need to do to get into our market. I feel like those people kind of get lost along the way because they're, or they get discouraged, or they get, or I just don't communicate with them as much as I should because I'm too busy selling homes to the other people that are ready to go, that there's not enough inventory even for me to get to, person number 13, 14, 15, when I'm still trying to deal with 1 through 10 up here, and find them something. So I guess I'm trying to look for better ways to like stay organized with people I'm working with, to make sure I'm communicating with them frequently, even if I know they're not like super ready to buy. Cause I hate that, they would probably buy a few months down the road, but by then I've forgotten who they are and they've forgotten me too. So.
Okay. That's interesting. So tell me again, do you have anybody else working with you on that side of things?
Not full time, but my assistant helps when his main role when he's helping me is to write offers for me, and to also go out and see properties. Like if I'm working with investors and they're not here to look at properties themselves, instead of me going out, I'll send him out to go take a video of the property because that's what we're going to send the client anyway. And so he'll walk through, take a 5-minute video about, get a feel for what the house looks like, if there's repairs that it needs or whatever it needs to get rent ready. And he'll do that so that we can send it out to our clients.
Okay. Are most of your clients investors or are they homeowners?
A lot of my clients are investors. The ones that I'm letting fall through the cracks are investors.
Okay. That's important to know. Okay.
Because the homeowners tend to be more local. They're a little bit more invested in finding their own properties too. They're on Redfin and Zillow and they're constantly sending me stuff. So also, they tend to be higher price points too. So I am focusing my energy on people who are going to close, more expensive properties.
Okay. So, okay. So your assistant he's only part-time, you said, right?
He's a full-time assistant, but he does a lot of work for the property management side. So I only get him part-time for me.
Okay. Okay. So y'all are sharing him between both companies then. Where do you feel like he's stronger?
Probably on the property management side, because there are so many just like running around tasks to do, like inspections or showings or writing leases and stuff like that. I feel like he can be so helpful on that side. I hate to distract him at all from there. So I'm kind of just taking whatever time he's got left over to help me.
Okay. Okay. So, I'm sure you've probably considered this already. One thing is probably having somebody that's dedicated in that other side, not the property management side, but the sales side of the business. It sounds like, first of all, it sounds like somebody needs to be plugged in that probably full time.
Well, I think it's part of the issue is that there's a lack of inventory, right? So let's say, a good rental property only hits the market every other day. And I'm working with 10 people who are actively looking for a house just like that. If something hits the market today, I want to send it to the people that I know will make good offers that are likely to actually get the property. Because I don't want to send it to this person over here who might make an okay offer, but they're not going to win against all the other investors that are out there in the market. So I want my client to win it. So I'm going to pick my client who I think has the best chance, have them write the offer, like those are the people I'm working with. The problem is like all those people left behind don't get followed up with enough, they're not getting enough information, I think, from me, but I don't know what I can send them or how I can communicate with them better to keep them engaged.
Okay.
So part of it, is a lack of time and, I could use help, but I think it's more of how do you frequently communicate with people and keep them engaged.
Right.
When you don't have anything to give them.
So, and how did you determine, is the people that you're spending more time with, are those repeat clients?
A lot of them are, yeah.
Okay. So would you say most of your time is spent with repeat clients on that?
I wouldn't say most, but any buyer is going to have kind of their own level of strength. So like if I have a new client who's a cash buyer who seems super eager to buy quickly, who understands that they're going to have to make really good offers, then if something hits the market that meets that need, I'm going to send it to him first because he's going to be the one that I want to make the offer with, because I know that he's got a good chance of actually getting it, versus, you know, this guy over here who's only going to offer asking price, you know, is maybe getting financing and things like that. Like, okay, that's not a bad offer, but it's not going to be enough to win. So it's like, I don't know that I don't want to call it waste my time, because it's not wasting time to like develop the relationship and stuff with somebody. But one, either those people, one, they're not winning the offer. So it is a waste of that amount of time to submit offers for them if they're not going to get it. But, you know, it's a learning process for them. So that's okay. But those are good rental properties that now my clients are not getting because, you know, this person couldn't make a good enough offer. So, you know, I'm trying to figure out like, how do you keep that person who maybe I'm not sending the property to that I want somebody to buy? You know, how do I still keep them excited about the area so that when there is enough inventory for them to get something, that they're still in the market?
And so because there's no follow-up, you're not sure probably then if they are, it's hard to probably gauge their interest over time then, because if they're submitting stuff and they're not getting things, then, you know, like, do they reach a point of frustration where they just like, they don't want to submit any more offers?
They get discouraged if they don't get anything, or they just realize that the market is too hot for them to want to buy right now. So, you know, so let's say that's the case. The market's too hot. You know, I'm just going to take a breather and see where the market goes. Well, okay, that's fine. How in maybe when COVID, you know, really affects our market in 6 months or something, and there is a buying opportunity, like, how do I stay in front of these people to play that long game?
Right. So I think there's a couple of things here. And I think the biggest thing that I see here, well, one, the help, like just having some help with that. But the other thing is having a follow-up system in place, like really sitting down and figuring out like what that looks like. I think that could be really helpful. Just like in real estate investing, like, so in my business, like we have really solid follow-up process, you know, it's like, and it's with sellers, but it's like pretty much the same thing. You know, you could probably apply that to, and actually now that I'm thinking about that, that'd be good for the wholesaling, because it is a lot like wholesaling. I mean, they're just buying off MLS in your case. In our case, we market direct to sellers and then we're wholesaling properties that way. But we do have a follow-up process. So it's like you said, keeping them engaged with text, emails, like their buying criteria, what's coming up. But the other thing I'm wondering about is like, what's to prevent you from just like blasting these deals out to just everybody and just seeing what happens?
So I tried that because I have a CRM that I use, and I said, okay, instead of me focusing on one person here, one person there, like what if I do just send it out to everybody and just package it all together, send it out to everyone. And then what I found was that I feel like the people who I really wanted to buy it didn't pull the trigger. And I don't know if it's because they felt like I wasn't personally like telling them like, hey, this is good for you. You know, it almost felt like there was like a lack of like personal communication. You know, so then I was just like, okay, I'd send it out to everybody and just say, hey, you should buy it, you know, like you especially should. But then the awkward part comes in. It's like, you know, then I sometimes have like 4 people who want to make an offer on it. And then, it's like, oh crap. So if I have 4 people that want to make an offer on the same property, it puts me in a super awkward spot.
You don't ask for highest and best and just go with it. Why does it feel awkward?
So, because then I can't give them advice on like what they should offer. So what I was doing when I sent that out, I sent it out with, I think whoever wants to offer on this property should offer this and do, you know, X, Y, Z. And because I knew, like after I did the first one, I knew like this might not be the best way to do it because I'm getting more than one person who wants to make an offer. And then once I have 2 people I'm working with on the same property, like I can't give them advice knowing what the other person has offered. You know what I mean? Like it just makes it hard for me to work for you and be a fiduciary to you if I know what this guy is offering as well. So, you know, if I know he's offered 200 and you want to make an offer for 195, I can't tell you like, hey, you should make an offer for 205. Like,
right. And so did you ask them like highest and best? Like I have multiple offers. I need the highest and best.
have more than one client who wants to make an offer, I just disclose to the people that, hey, I've got another client who's making an offer on that. Because of that, I can't tell you what to offer. It just needs to be your very best offer. That turns people off sometimes, because now they're just like, oh, you're not, I think everyone knows I'm not just working with them, but I don't think they really fully grasp like how many investors I'm working with.
Right. And they wouldn't need to know that. I mean, that's none of their business anyway. One of the things is just like setting that proper expectation up front too. It's like I work with multiple buyers, and, if you're going to make an offer on the property, like I have to do what's best for my seller. So I'm going to be asking for highest and best.
They're
And
not my sellers, they are MLS listings. So I am
that's right. Sorry.
buyer's fiduciary. So that's where the awkward part comes in. It's like, I have to be a fiduciary to 4 different people, and I have insider knowledge on what the other people are doing. So that's the part that makes it tricky.
So another thing that could be done, maybe so you tried that. So what about if you kind of segmented those buyers out? So you've got your like hot buyers list, and then you've got your like not so hot or warm, or find some kind of way to rate them maybe. Have you built any kind of like spreadsheet or anything with like, here's my buyers, here's their criteria, this is what they're looking for?
It's all in the CRM. Yeah. So I've got like tags and stuff. So, if I know somebody wants a multifamily, I can just search everyone who said multifamily.
Okay, perfect.
And I can send that to everyone.
So then, so if you segmented those buyers, so then you hire maybe like bringing somebody else in and having them nurture the other ones. So, and there could be a few things done with that too. So part of that is just following up like, hey, are you still buying? Is this still your criteria? And like double checking some of that stuff too, just to stay on top of, because some people might be out of the game at this point or not interested in that market anymore or whatever. So having somebody spend the time going through all those contacts and start like segmenting out like who the real buyers are and who the tire kickers are, kind of thing. And then building follow-up systems for the warm buyers. So it's like they've got money to spend. This is what they're looking for. What kind of offers they're going to be making. But then you nurture them through with just like keeping them aware of the deals that are coming through, maybe, so that they see, she still has properties, we're obviously not getting these because there's a issue with pricing or, they're getting beat out, I guess, sounds like what's happening most of the time. So then, then it becomes a conversation of, okay, well, and this is like for this nurturing person too. So it's basically like a customer support, customer experience kind of person or something, somebody to manage those people. It's like, okay, well, you're missing out on these deals. Like, let's talk about why, like, are you willing to make higher offers? Are you still interested in this market? Do you want to change maybe what you're looking for, your criteria or something? But knowing that could push them from a warm to a hot buyer if you're having those conversations one-on-one with them, like not you, but, somebody else. So that could be a thing. And then just kind of nurturing them along with like market reports, maybe just some other kind of like content or something so that you're always there. So maybe like current market analysis kind of stuff. Yeah, just anything that you find out about the market and what's going on in your market that you can share with them, just like informational type content stuff.
Yeah.
But then also, but I think the bigger thing though is that outreach to them. If you do want to keep them, that's a decision that you would have to make. Like, do you want to nurture them along and figure out how to get them from a warm buyer to a hot buyer? Because that's really the big piece of that. It's like, you have all these people, how are you going to convert them into being hot buyers? Yeah. Like they're actually going to take action, make the right offers, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it was interesting. The other day, there was a decent multifamily that hit the MLS, and it was late at night when I happened to see it. So I was like, well, I didn't want to like text anybody or whatever. So I was like, oh, let me do this with my CRM like I used to. And I just sent out the MLS link, with really no other information other than, hey, I really like this property, just wanted you to see it in the morning. first thing in the morning. And I think there was like 37 people I sent it to, and I probably got at least like 20 of them like email me back immediately. Hey, I really like this. And I was like, I can't even remember who these people are, but they're still out there, you know, wanting to buy something. And a lot of people are like, yeah, send me more information. Yes. You know, like, and then I was like, oh my God, what if I had done that and all 20 people wanted to make an offer? it ended up selling right away to somebody else. But, you know, but it was kind of a trigger for me to think like, oh gosh, all these people in my database, a lot of them are still looking, like they would still totally buy something if I could find them something. So.
Right. But it's more of qualifying them as a buyer than you trying to find specific properties that fit them.
Yeah. Well, I think it was just like a wake up call, like, hey, there actually are a lot of buyers in here that I'm not talking to.
Yeah.
So when you say that you have a follow-up system in place for your own business, like what does that look like, and who is doing the follow-up? Are you actually like calling people, or, you know, just sending out general information?
Yeah, it's kind of a mixture of things. I always like to start with the method that they communicate with us first, because typically that's, you know, if they reach out to you through text, then they're probably a text person. But that is one thing that we do ask, you know, like it's important to know, how do you like to be communicated with, and what time is good too. Because, you know, we're finding that's an issue with sellers, but it could also be an issue if people are doing this part-time or whatever. If they're at work, they might miss out on stuff because they're working a full-time job. You know, they might not know. So a lot of stuff we put out in text because people get it right away. So when we, like, if we send out something, we'll send out a deal, and it'll be, it's just like a bit.ly link through text. They opt in for the text. So once we have something that comes up, then we have a whole like little landing page that's set up where we just plug all this stuff in. So we plug in the walkthrough video, the repair estimates, the ARV, or we also use the rent meter or something like that, where it shows like what the rentals will be, things like that. So we try to put as much information as possible into that email so that we're not answering a bunch of dumb questions. But then the follow-up comes in, where we'll follow up with a phone call, we'll follow up with a text, an email, and then it just starts cycling through over time. So usually like that first contact is like within that first week. And then if they're interested, not interested, and this is on the seller side, of course, of things. It's a little different from the disposition side when we're wholesaling a property, but you know, we go to the appointment or whatever, and then, you know, try to get it under contract at that time. But then if we don't, then it becomes a phone call, a text, 1 week, 2 weeks. And then I think it goes like every month after that. We just keep reaching out. Hey, are you still interested in selling? You know, blah, blah, blah. But that principle can be applied to what you're trying to do, I think. It's the touching, you know, it doesn't matter like how it's having a systemized, like having a process for how you're reaching out to them. And then what are you saying every time that you reach out? And then how, you know, so I'm going to text them, I'm going to email them, I'm going to call them. But then what are you going to say, and how often are you going to do it?
Do you have like a full-time person who helps with all the following up?
Yeah, but we have it set up too in our CRM, and you might be able to do that. I don't know what CRM you're using, but we can set auto follow-ups. So we've got templates for text and emails and stuff that it'll just like, you just hit the button and it'll send them the text.
Yeah. Which system do you use?
We're using Beast Mode. Okay. It's a Podio based CRM system. But yeah, that's what we're using. And then
organized.
Yeah. I mean, but if you can, I really like the idea of a nurture campaign for those warm buyers. I think that's going to be your best bet, is like having somebody that's strictly dedicated to nurturing those people and trying to get them to a place from a warm buyer to a hot buyer. You know, what do they like? Really have a good conversation with them about what they're doing, what they're trying to achieve. You know, are they willing to make higher offers? You know, do they just not have the money? You know, like, because it might not be worth wasting your time with, you know.
Yeah.
Or it could be, you know, you're trying to buy these like really high end properties or something. I don't know what kind of stuff you're selling, but
yeah, I mean, I am trying to like weed out the people who can actually, you know, who have the right expectations of our market. So, you know, I guess occasionally I get the person who's looking for a great deal or something like that. And those just don't really exist right now. So.
Yeah. What does your vetting process look like for these buyers? Do you have one?
I mean, so I tried to streamline a lot of stuff, just because I get so many calls from bigger pockets and, referrals and things like that too. So, and a lot of people have the same questions over and over again about, tell me about the Raleigh market, tell me, all this. So you end up having the same 30, 45-minute conversation with everybody. So to narrow that down a bit, because I do think you need to have the phone call and have the conversation, because people want to, I think, feel personally connected. But a lot of the information that I was repeating, I decided to like make into an email. So I have them kind of read that email first. There's like a link to my webpage that shows all of the properties that we sold over the last year, with like how much we're getting for rent and how much we had to put into it, and try to give them some information about like actual numbers. Then I say, if these numbers look good to you and you would have bought something off of this list basically, then let's schedule a call. So kind of try to get them as much information as possible at the beginning, and then of course making sure that if they're a cash buyer, that they actually have cash, and get them pre-approved if they're gonna get a loan.
Okay, so you're doing all that proof of funds, all those kind of things too.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest, so it's good that you're doing that, just listening to what they're saying and then turning that into content for them.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
So what I did was I kind of recorded a couple of calls that I had and just try to go through and say, okay, what are the common questions that people keep asking me over and over? And then I started fleshing that out into an email. And I think I'd like to do a couple of YouTube videos too, and just link those in the email so that they can get a little bit more information, I guess. So
doing those too could be part of that nurture campaign also.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking too. I could have something to send out to people here and there.
Yeah, because it's like, hey, this is what's happening this month in Raleigh, and just kind of go into that, and that could be like a thing that you blast out to them too, instead of like typing out, because it's going to change, with everything the way it is right now. Like nothing's staying the same. So it's like if you did like a weekly, what's happening kind of thing, and just keep them in the loop, I guess, about what's going on in the market there. Yeah, I like the idea of the turning that into content, and even like you can make it long and then you can break that down into like micro content too.
Do you do YouTube?
I do.
How long are your videos typically?
It depends on which things. Like when I was doing YouTube videos for the house flipping stuff, those would be longer because I was doing walkthroughs and I was explaining a lot of stuff. Now we just film a lot of content and then we chop it all up and, use that. So usually like a couple of minutes. People's attention span isn't really super long. So I would keep it under 5 minutes, for just these quick kind of things. I wouldn't go longer than that.
What are, do you have like companies and stuff that do like all your editing and stuff for you?
Okay. Yeah.
That was the other part about like doing videos and stuff. Like I can shoot videos, but I can't sit down and figure out how to make them look good or sound good or not be, 15 minutes long.
Well, the funny thing is honestly, they don't have to be that great. Like that content is actually way more impactful than the super polished edited stuff. So
yeah, it doesn't have to be commercial or, a high production value thing, but I just didn't want it to be stupid either.
I mean, if you're just doing like, hey, this is Dawn, I'm just going to give you a quick, let you know what's going on right now, and just do that like on your, like as if you would do a Facebook Live or something, that kind of thing, like just a real quick little video that's not, because you're doing them all the time. So it's like, this is the series that we're doing where we're talking about what's going on here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you think that, if you were to bring somebody on to like nurture those people, would you have other tasks for them to do too, if that wasn't enough work for them?
I'm sure I could come up with other tasks for somebody to do. Yeah, I don't know. So I hate hiring, like hate hiring.
Why do you
um,
hate hiring? What do you hate about it?
I also hate training. So like I'm terrible at, I'm just not a good teacher, which is why this, homeschooling my kid thing sounds just like a total nightmare. I think I don't have a lot of patience. So I'm just kind of like, here, this is how you do this thing. You should get it now. And then I walk away because I'm too busy to like really spend the time to get people up to speed. And then that poor person is just like, I don't know what the hell's going on. So I'm like, why didn't you get it? Like I told you that one time. So
That one time.
yeah. And so, it's hard for me to like not just expect that other people just know what I know. And, I know logically that makes no sense. And I get that. But, in practice, it's just difficult to stop what you're doing and tell somebody else how to do it. And it's always just been easier to just do it myself because it takes less time in the moment to just do it myself. Of course, that costs me a lot of time overall. And then with hiring, I just feel like, like you talk to all these people, you read all these resumes, and in the end, like you don't really feel great about any of them. So it's like, you're like, okay, who's like the most passable? And then, that's never great.
Which
either.
is not a good way to hire people.
Yeah, it's not. Like I want to be really excited about somebody.
So maybe that's something that needs to be figured out above maybe even some of this other stuff is your hiring process.
Good help.
Yeah. Do you have a process for hiring people?
I mean, we do so infrequently that no, like our assistant is great, like, but that's somebody that my business partner already knew. He was already working with her in a different business. And, so she kind of came to me and said, hey, he'd like to work with us here. And I was like, okay, you like him? She's like, yes. I was like, all right, great. He's hired. She had experience and I trust her judgment. So that was easy enough. But beyond that, like the few times I have tried to hire for an assistant before they came around, like it didn't go well.
Why do you think it didn't go well?
I think it's just hard. Well, also I work from home.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not like we're sitting in an office environment. We're all sitting together and able to just talk all the time. And, so I think that's a big hurdle to get over when you're not constantly with the person. Mm-hmm. And then just having the lack of patience and time to, overcome that hurdle.
Do you think that if you spent the time to kind of figure all that stuff out, like, this is what I need, this is the kind of person I need, this is all the things that I need them to do, like spending that time on the front end would produce a better result on the back end that would like really free your time up?
I know that sounds really logical. I get where you're coming from. I do.
So this is like that visionary implementer thing, right? Like you need somebody that can do things for you, right?
Yeah.
I get that because I'm the same way. Like, honestly, my implementation is awful. Like I'm not good at it, but I know that about myself. And so I've chosen to surround myself with people that are good implementers. So like everybody on my team, they're like really type A kind of people because I'm not. Like I like details, but I don't like sitting there sweating the details. And like, I know we need a process, and I can write the process, but I don't want to write the process. I want somebody else to do it for me. But there are ways around that, like there are ways, like even if you don't like sitting down creating the process, even if you just sat down and did like Loom videos or something like quick, this is how I do this kind of thing. This is how I write offers. This is my follow-up system. This is, maybe figuring out, first of all, like who this person is and what you would want them to do. So probably, like maybe some tasky things, maybe writing offers, nurturing those warm buyers, helping with anything else, maybe transactionally on the back end, but figuring all those things, whatever it is that you want that person to do. And then from there, start putting the training together yourself, like get it out of your head and it sucks and like nobody wants to do it. And you could probably honestly even just like hire somebody off of Upwork or Fiverr and just like sit there and just like talk to them about the process, just talk through what you're doing and then have them create it all for you.
Yeah.
But then that's going to make it easier when you find that person that they're not having to come to you like 100 times. Like, how do I do this? At least that part is like done, you know?
Yeah. Well, stopping long enough to actually sit down and do some SOPs, or, I mean, just writing everything out. Like it just sounds so daunting to have to stop what I'm doing long enough to like, I can barely stop and feed myself lunch, let alone sit down and, actually complete this. So that's where the roadblock comes. But yes, I know if I were to do it, I would free up a lot of time on the back end. I get it logically, that all makes sense.
Well, and it's that thing too, like if you want to do it bad enough, if you really don't want to be burdened with that stuff anymore, eventually you're going to make time to do it.
Yeah, totally.
Nobody's going to force you to do it. You have to decide that you're going to do that on your own. But I would really suggest maybe just doing the recording thing. Just pick up your phone and do voice notes, like especially as you're doing something, just kind of talk through like what you're doing, because then you're not having to stop. You're still doing what you're doing,
right?
Or, if it's something you're doing computer work wise, recording it on Loom and having that screen capture just going, and you're just kind of talking through like as you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a start. So what you do is you just like roughly do those processes. They don't have to be perfect, but it has to be enough where somebody can kind of follow it. And then the right person will be able to take that and make it better.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And that's part of their job. It's like, here's what we're doing. Like, put this into a format that makes sense for you, video recordings, or if it's a Word document or like whatever it is.
Yeah.
But, kind of put that on them. But you do have like the basics at least kind of done. But then it seems like all that's important, but then finding and hiring that right person too sounds like it could be an issue.
Yeah. Again, I think stopping and putting the time into it, and, just making the time for the things that are going to be important. I mean, that's just it. It's like, I know if I just stop and make the time for it, it'll free up a lot of time on the back end. So even if I can't get all the stuff I want to get done right now, if I could get some of that out of the way, on the back end, then it should free up more time to get the rest of it done.
Right. And, the other side of that too, if you don't want to do it that way, find a good person, like, I know I'm making it sound like really oversimplified, but if you find the right person, you can walk through all that stuff with them and they document everything together with you as you're going through it. Instead of you taking the time to do it up front, maybe if you just find like that right person, just say, I'm hiring for an assistant, and if you want, I can share some like ads and stuff with you and some stuff like I had shared with Liz about Wise Hire, which to me was like the greatest thing ever. Cause you just plug that stuff in. And then like they send you put all your criteria in there. You can have like qualifying questions. I usually have them take like the DISC test, like the personality test, as part of the hiring process. Mm-hmm. And I have like 3 qualifying questions. I have them answer, and then I want their resume. But the Wise Hire is cool because you use it, and then they send that out to like Monster and Indeed and like all the other places. The only one they don't do is Craigslist. And then when it comes back to you, when you log into Wise Hire, everything is there, and it's like rated for you because you put in the criteria. So they'll rate the candidates for you, which is really nice also. Yeah. But you can pinpoint like that right person, and I can, like, offline, we can talk about that too if you want to, like what some good criteria might be for a person like that. But the right fit is fine. Like cultural fit, like fitting with you, like somebody that you can work with, is more important than the skill set, because you can teach that. Yeah. You can show them that, but you can't hire like somebody that you would really want to spend your day with, and like trust, to do all that stuff right. So maybe for you, because you are so busy, maybe it's finding that person and then having them document all the stuff for you and work on the stuff alongside of you, instead of you doing it and then trying to find the right person. Seems like could be a better deal. Ask the other guy if he has any friends.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a bad place to start.
Yeah. Or even in your own network, just do like a post or something on Facebook if you have a big enough, just like, hey, I'm looking for an assistant. I need somebody that's got really good attention to detail, that's motivated, whatever. If you know what your core values are, maybe throw that out there too. Just, just kind of who I am. and see if you get any response out of that too. Because my last 2 hires, I think, were made from my network, and they were great. Like, they're still with me. So
yeah,
there's some power in that.
yeah.
And they weren't friends. They were just people that I knew from other, my lead manager her son went to school with my son, and she was a teacher, and she was following the content and saw what was happening and got interested in the business. And when she decided to leave teaching, she reached out, and she was a great hire.
Yeah.
Also, another good hire is, I hired somebody from the title company that I was doing a lot of business with too. That was a great place, because those people are very detail oriented.
You still use the same title company?
No. No, not anymore. They got bought out, actually, and it was like a horrible thing. We had to quit using them, not because of like me poaching the guy, but and I didn't really poach him. He came to me. He wanted to leave and work with me, but we had worked together for a long time on files, there, but yeah. So maybe looking in industries where details are important, and somebody that's got a really good personality, especially if they're going to be doing outreach for you. You want somebody that's good at talking to people.
Yeah.
They don't have to be like super salesy, but just somebody that makes other people feel really comfortable.
Right.
Yeah. So I would recommend something like that. Do you use the disc at all?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would say like somebody with a really high I and a high C.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like lower D, mid to low D. Yeah. You don't want anybody that's too confrontational. But that's typically how those people kind of look for those positions, I think. Cool. Is there anything else that you wanted to dig into, or is that a little bit helpful?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely helpful. I'm going to think about, I don't know. I wasn't even thinking of a place of like wanting to hire somebody, but now that you've got my wheels turning on that, like maybe I will.
I really believe in delegating, and I feel like you and I are a lot alike, because we know we can do all the things, and so we do them just because it's quick and I'll just get it done and I can do it. But then like you have no time for anything else, so you don't have time to build your business or do the parts of the business that you like. And that was the big thing for me that I finally realized, like, why am I doing this crap that I hate doing? I need to hire this out. And so I started doing that, taking those pieces. But I think having that person that's dedicated to converting those warm people, like you said, when the market changes, they're going to be there because you've been there that whole time, kind of holding their hand, nurturing them along, just staying like front of mind for them. I think it could be really good when things change. Yeah. Is that good? I'm going to be curious to see what happens.
Yeah, we were just talking about in my last mastermind group was making a list of everything that you do, like literally every detail that you do in your business, and then figuring out like what are the things that you like doing and don't like doing, the things that you can delegate, can't delegate, and all that, and really putting things into some buckets. And then that's probably the best way to come up with a job description for somebody else.
Always. That is something I always suggest. I'm actually working with a coaching client right now, and I had her do the same thing. Like, I want you to write everything down that you're doing, everything. Cause she, again, too, and maybe it's like a woman thing. Maybe like it's a woman business owner thing that we all feel like we can do all the things and, we don't need help. I got this. Like, I'm a woman. I know I get like that. I like have that martyr problem sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't need any help. I can do it. But when I had her dump all that stuff out, it was a lot, and you don't realize how much you do. And I told her, even the small things, like, it doesn't matter how small you think it is. If you're hauling trash out to the dumpster, write it down.
Yeah.
Like, if you're cleaning your office, write it down. I don't care what it is, write it down. That way, like you said, we started kind of putting those things into buckets, and it's like, okay, what do you like doing? What do you not like doing? Let's group these things together, and look, here's your next hire right here. Most of this stuff is like you hate financial stuff. Why are you messing with this? Right. That kind of thing. So
yeah, agreed.
It's a great activity. I think helpful, but
I might do that.
I just think you need some help.
Yeah.
More ways than one. Don't try to go it alone. We all need it.
I would say more ways than one, for sure.
Awesome. Well, hopefully this was helpful, and I'll be following up just to see if there's, if you've decided to do that or not, and kind of how that went. In the meantime, is there a place where people can find you online that you would like to share?
Sure. Yeah, my website is trailwoodrealty.com. And I'm on Facebook and Bigger Pockets and Instagram and all those good places too.
Okay, awesome. And we'll have the links for that too, so that people can get in touch with you if they want to buy some property in North Carolina.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for being on and taking the time to kind of talk through some of the stuff, and hopefully you got something out of that.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.